Hello YouTube, Sidekick here, to talk about an exciting new addition to DCS that arrived in the latest update last week. And that would be the 20 of October 2021 update for those of you who are keeping track at home. And the addition that I want to talk about is that of the USS Forrestal to the ships available in the mission editor. The USS Forrestal is a fully functional carrier that is provided free of charge by Heatblur. Now, some other videos have said or implied that the Forrestal is available only to owners of the F-14. This is actually not the case. In fact, it's free for everyone. Now, this is great news because not only is it a high-quality module, it also moves the carrier operations timeline back in time by a couple of decades, since the supercarriers currently available in DCS didn't start coming into service until the mid-1970s. The USS Forrestal, by contrast, was commissioned in 1955 and served for almost 40 years, being retired in 1993. She was the first U.S. carrier to be designed after the Second World War and the first to be designed to operate jet aircraft, with features such as an angled flight deck and steam catapults. Unlike modern supercarriers, she was powered by steam turbines rather than by a nuclear reactor. Forrestal was the first of a four-ship class that included the Saratoga, the Ranger, and the Independence. For the second half of her life, from about the mid-1970s onward, she would have been home to carrier air groups which included the F-14, which is, I assume, why Heatblur was interested in adding her to the DCS mix. But for the early part of her career, from 1955 through the Vietnam era, and even into the 1970s, she would have carried air groups built around the A-4 Skyhawk, which is why she's of interest to me. From a DCS perspective, these are the main aircraft she would have operated. At the end of her career, she might well have operated F-18s as well. The other mainstays of her air groups over the years would have been F-8s and F-4s, A-7s and A-6s, all of which are, of course, aircraft that many of us would love to see in DCS someday. In short, for those of us interested in the golden age of the muscle jets of the late 1960s and early 1970s, the Forrestal is a very welcome addition to the DCS universe. She's also a welcome addition because the module is, frankly, a thing of beauty. Sitting on the deck of the Forrestal, I honestly think I can smell the combination of diesel and jet fuel. Not only are there lots of wonderful details, the texturing and surface mapping are just fantastic. There are so many subtle details that combine to create an almost subliminal effect that is very immersive. I don't spend a lot of time flying on carriers in DCS, but the Forrestal is already easily my favorite, and maybe even a reason why I may start spending more time there. So how does the Forrestal compare to the other supercarriers already in DCS? Well, here's some footage of them steaming together. You can see the difference in size, and you can see that the Forrestal, while still a very large ship, is quite a bit more compact than the Nimitz class. In game terms, the differences in size will likely be felt more in the handling of aircraft on the deck rather than in flight operations. Takeoffs and landings, I think, will be similar on the Forrestal, but there will be a lot less room to move aircraft around the deck, around the takeoff and landing areas. The other main difference that you'll notice will be that the Forrestal, at least for my money, gives a much different feel than the existing supercarriers. The existing models in DCS feel, I don't know, very clean, whereas the Forrestal feels a bit more like a floating industrial area, which, let's face it, is in fact what an aircraft carrier really is. Okay, enough of the cinematic shots. Let's do a little bit of flying. Instead of doing a circuit around the carrier, I thought maybe I'd do something to show off another feature of the Forrestal and of the A-4 that doesn't get talked about quite so much, and that's the ability to do an instrument approach to the carrier. And to get that set up, we just have to make sure that when we add the Forrestal to the mission editor, that we edit a couple of advanced waypoint actions here. The first one is that we have to activate the TACAN. We need to make sure that we have a call sign and that we have the right unit set when we do that. And the second thing that we want to do is activate ICLS. And we also need to make sure we pick the right unit. And we also need to make sure that we remember which channels we've used. In this case, we used channel 11, channel 11 for TACAN, and channel 15, channel 15 for the ICLS. And then we're just going to put a land-based A4 over here at Batumi, and we're going to go out and fly. All right, here we are in the cockpit, setting our TACAN to channel 11, turning it to transmit receive, going down here to the ICLS dial, setting it to channel 15. And then we have to cycle the switch up to bit, that's right, back to on, and we should be pretty much ready to go. So just a quick check of everything here, make sure the BDHI is set to TACAN. Oops, we got the flaps down. We'll want to pick those up. And we'll head out to the runway. And it's a lovely morning here in Batumi. Now, the weather's nice enough that we don't really need the instruments to land on the carrier or even find the carrier, but it's going to be good practice today to see how it works. For reference, we know that the carrier is steaming due north, so the runway is going to be angled at 340 degrees. So 340 is the radial that we want to be approaching the carrier on our TACAN. So that'll become important once we get up and start planning our approach. And we're just getting ourselves lined up down the runway here. And we are off. Alright, so we're traveling light today with no weapons and only a partial load of fuel, so it shouldn't take too much of the runway to get us off the ground. And in fact, there we are. Alright, we've got flaps up, gear up, trim reset to something like climb out. Now we're bearing off to the left because you can see from the TACAN needle there on the BDHI, which is the one that is below the artificial horizon, that we were pointed pretty much at the carrier, and we're not that far away, only 20 miles or so. So we need to give ourselves a little bit more room so we can turn into the carrier and give ourselves an approach. Ideally, I think we want to be turning in at around 20 nautical miles. And we want to be at around 6,000 feet if we use the 3-degree glide slope rule. So we're climbing to 6,000 feet. And we're just going to fly a straight course here until the carrier is at about 340 degrees. So we're on the 340 degree radial. And you can actually see the carrier in the distance there. So really now it's just a matter of flying this course and watching the BDHI until we get a needle that says that where the carrier's about 340 degrees, and then we can turn onto that radial and we'll be lined up with the carrier. And we want to keep our altitude somewhere close to where it is. Maybe losing a little won't be a problem because we are getting a little closer and we are inside those 20 nautical miles already, and we're inside under 6,000 feet. So we want to keep it around the same. So that when we turn in, we'll be close to being on the glide slope. So really, it's just a matter now of staying on course, staying on altitude, keep an eye on the carrier out the right-hand side of the cockpit there, and we just got to watch that needle until it's at 340. And maybe we'll just apply a little bit of the magic video editing here and roll forward a little bit until we're just about ready to make the turn. So we're a little bit more than 330, so now we're going to turn in and try and capture that radial right at about the time that it's at 340. And it looks good because we can see now on the artificial horizon that the ICLS direction needle has come in from the left, and basically what we want that to be in the center of the screen and over 340 when we're heading 340. So just need to, we're Well, it's in the middle, but we're not at 340, so we got to encourage it over a little bit more. Okay, now we've let it get past 340, so we're going to have to turn a little bit past 340 ourselves just to bring it back to the middle, but it's not very far off. We'll be able to get that sorted out in plenty of time. We're around 10 nautical miles from the carrier now, a little bit more than that, coming down through 4,000 feet, which is probably a little bit high, but not too bad. So we're getting ourselves lined up, and now we've captured the glide slope indicator, and it does show us to be a little bit high. So it's probably a good time now to probably be thinking about deploying the speed brakes so we can knock off a little bit of that excess speed. Okay, the speed is starting to come down now. It's still a little high, but not really too bad. Just got to get the speed under 200, and then we'll be ready to drop the gear and the flaps once we get into under 10 miles. So speed's coming down nicely. Okay, under 200 now. Distance is coming down under 10, so I think it's time to drop the flaps and the gear. Okay, we're established on final. Get a little bit closer look here. Time to start watching the AOA indexer and increasingly start looking for the carrier deck. And we'll keep watching the glide slope for now. We're not bad. A little fast. Going to take off a little bit more speed. There we go. Now we're a little bit under. So it's just going to be jockeying the power, trying to keep the AOA indexer and the glide slope happy. And back and forth with the power. Oops, get the nose up a little bit here. Okay, glide slope's a little low, but not too bad. We're keeping the AOA indexer close. Got a good line on the deck there. Just keep bringing it in. Just keep bringing it in, jockey the power when we get a little fast, a little high on the glide slope right now, not too bad, a little bit more power, back it off a little. Alright, keeping it in the middle of the HUD. Oops, just noticed I haven't got my hook down. That would not have been good. Alright, watching the AOA indexer. Watching the ship. Glide slope says we're a little high, but I like how we look, so I'm just going to keep watching the AOA. Going to keep watching the ship. Not really going to watch the ICLS very much anymore at this point. Keep jockeying the power a little bit. Try not to get too far behind the curve. And we're a little bit out to the right. Come back to the left. Just keep jockeying the power. Coming close to the picket ships now. We're not looking too bad. Get a good aiming mark on the deck now. Just keep jockeying the power. Alright, looking good. Just keep jockeying the power back a little bit. Right in there somewhere. Looking good. See the ball now. Looking good. Aiming for the angle in the deck. Keep it coming past the picket ship now. Keep it coming. Get a little bit more lined up now that we can see it. Aim for the angle in the deck. Aim for the angle in the deck. Don't look at the back of the ship. Aim for the angle in the deck. Get the AOA in the right spot. Keep her coming. Keep her coming. Don't let it drop. Keep her coming. Keep her coming. And I think we're just about there. And put her down. And look at that. We're actually safe aboard the ship. Well, that landing may not have been a thing of beauty, but I still maintain that the USS Forrestal is. If you guys enjoyed that little practice with the Forrestal and with the instrument landing systems that are available, TACAN and ICLS, and they're available on the A4, obviously. And I hope you guys get a chance to practice with the Forrestal. I think it really is worth it. And for now, this is going to be Sidekick, signing off.